In 2013, a deep-sea submersible off the coast of Greenland captured 6 seconds of footage that should have changed human history.
Dr. Paul Robertson.
I'd really like to see what's on that second camera.
I'm glad. I think we all do. Our viewers at home, too, would like to see that. We're going to show you that right now. Let's take a look.
It wasn't a fish, and it wasn't a hoax. It was a biological anomaly with high-level intelligence and a skeletal structure that matches a declassified Soviet report from 1982. This isn't a collection of myths. It's a forensic look at the species we were never supposed to find. The sea monk. Our journey begins in the frigid, turbulent waters off the coast of Denmark in the year 1546. This is the bizarre, disturbing account of the creature known to history as the sea monk. The story, recorded by several prominent naturalists of the time, details a massive, grotesque creature caught in the heavy fishing nets of local trawlers. When pulled onto the deck, the creature was described as half fish and half humanoid, but strangely monstrous, entirely defying conventional classification. Its head was said to be round and smooth, much like a human's, but lacking hair. Its features were broad, flat, and chillingly blank. But the most unsettling detail was the body. It possessed broad, pectoral fins that draped over its chest, resembling the cowl of a monk's robe, hence the creature's morbid nickname. Below the waist, its body tapered dramatically into a massive, scaly tail, too large and powerful to be contained. The sea monk was not beautiful or alluring like the sirens of Greek myth. It was grotesque, alien, and deeply disturbing. It reportedly made no sound, merely emitting pained, gurgling breaths as it lay dying on the deck. Was this an impossibly large mutated ray? Was it a deep-sea creature that had adapted to resemble a massive mollusk? Or was it a transitional species, an example of an aquatic hominid that had taken a wrong evolutionary turn, forever trapped between the surface and the abyss? The sea monk was easily dismissed as a misidentification of an uneducated populace, a relic of medieval superstition. But our next sighting comes from a far more credible, authoritative source, a legendary explorer whose word was strong enough to change the map of the world. Black Sea fishermen. We leap from the 16th century to the modern day, focusing on one of the most consistent, yet difficult to verify, sighting clusters in the world, the Black Sea. For years, collective testimonies from seasoned trawler crews and independent fishermen operating in the deep, cold waters of the Eastern European coast have recounted bizarre and unsettling encounters. These are not sightings of creatures sunbathing on rocks. These are tense, fleeting glimpses of pale, fast-moving figures near the bottom of their trawlers. The details are chillingly consistent. The figures are consistently described as having smooth, almost luminous pale skin, likely adapted to low light levels. They are not sluggish or awkward. They exhibit impossible agility, effortlessly pacing the speed of the trawler for brief periods before disappearing into the deep. Crucially, multiple witnesses confirm that these beings actively avoid artificial light, reacting instantly and violently whenever the ship's powerful spotlights sweep too close to the water's surface. This suggests intelligence, awareness, and a profound instinct for self-preservation in the dark. These fishermen were terrified, but the next historical account of a sighting came from a man who was terrified by nothing, a legendary explorer whose pragmatism should have dismissed the myth instantly. Captain John Smith's sighting. In the early 17th century, Captain John Smith was synonymous with courage, exploration, and unwavering pragmatism. This was the man who founded Jamestown, who survived capture, and whose journals are considered the gold standard for early colonial history. When such a figure commits an account to paper, we must listen. In the summer of 1614, while exploring the cold, misty waters off the coast of Newfoundland, Captain Smith swore in his ship's log that he saw a beautiful mermaid swimming near his vessel. His detailed description is what demands our attention. He wrote that he clearly observed her green, shining hair, her large, pale eyes, and her well-formed nose and ears. He noted the perfect proportions of her upper body, which he compared favorably to a human woman, stating she was not ill-featured. He was, by his own account, beginning to fall in love with the sight. The sighting was so clear, so detailed, that he could not dismiss it. It wasn't until the creature rolled over, revealing the massive, scaled tail of a fish below the waist, that the spell was broken. Smith's detailed description of the upper body, specifically noting the nose and ears, demands that we question his sincerity. A seal or a manatee does not possess such distinct, humanoid features. Was Smith lying? His character suggests otherwise. Did he truly encounter an aquatic hominid perfectly adapted to the frigid waters of North Atlantic? Captain Smith's story was later romanticized, tucked away in the appendix of his grander adventures. But the next sighting is pure, unadulterated horror, the kind that makes an entire community shut down and bury its secrets. The Mermaid of Zennor. We now travel to the rugged, ancient coastline of Cornwall, England, to the small, isolated village of Zennor, where the line between history and folklore has been blurred for centuries. The legend of the Mermaid of Zennor is deeply embedded in the local identity. It tells of a beautiful, mysterious woman named Morwenna who frequented the local church, singing with an enchanting, otherworldly voice. After one particularly powerful sermon, she disappeared, never to be seen again. Soon after, a ship anchored offshore was sunk by a massive creature with a scaled tail, and a fisherman heard a voice calling from the sea, stating that Morwenna had returned to her home beneath the waves. While this sounds like simple folklore, the terrifying truth lies in the physical evidence. In the 15th century, the local church installed a bench and carved entirely with the image of a mermaid, a creature with a fish tail, but with a mirror and comb, symbolizing humanity. This carving is not just decoration. It is a permanent, tangible memorial to a local figure who allegedly became one with the sea. Why would an entire, deeply religious community commit this fantastical image to a house of God unless the event, or the belief, was absolutely central and historically verified to them? We move now to the modern era, where eyewitness accounts are supplemented by video footage, digital media, and government classification. These cases occurred in a time when mass communication should have dismissed the myth forever. Instead, they made it stronger, forcing us to believe something real happened. Mermaids of Kiryat Yam. In 2009, the small coastal town of Kiryat Yam in Israel became the global epicenter of the modern mermaid myth. The sighting was so compelling that the town offered a public, unprecedented reward: $1 million for definitive photographic proof of the creature. The initial report came from 2 local residents who swore they saw a beautiful, mysterious woman with a shimmering, silver tail leaping out of the water near a secluded cove at sunset. Unlike traditional folklore, this creature was not lounging. It was performing complex, acrobatic movements, quickly returning to the water before vanishing. The reports quickly multiplied, becoming a continuous wave of sightings that drew global media attention. The creature was never definitively captured or proven, and the $1 million reward went unclaimed. However, the global media frenzy suggests something fundamentally real happened. The consistent description, a creature that performed impossible leaps and only appeared at dusk and dawn, suggests a species perfectly adapted for deep-sea hunting, only surfacing during low-light conditions to avoid detection. Why would a small municipal government offer a reward that large for a fairy tale? The town mayor, Shmuel Sisso, publicly stated that he was not an idiot and would not offer the money if the witnesses weren't credible. The fact that the story exploded despite a complete lack of clear evidence highlights the intense public desire, or perhaps instinct, to believe that these creatures are real. The whole world watched Kiryat Yam, waiting for the undeniable evidence that never came. The Israeli sighting captured the world's attention, but our next case involves a creature that was not just glimpsed, but allegedly captured and classified by European authorities centuries ago. The Dutch/Haarlem mermaid. Perhaps the most fascinating and credible historical account of capture comes from the Netherlands in the 15th century, the tale of the Dutch or Haarlem mermaid. This account is documented in multiple historical texts, suggesting it wasn't a one-off rumor, but a sustained historical event. The story recounts that following a massive storm in 1403, a mermaid was washed ashore near the town of Edam, and after being discovered by local girls, was taken to the nearby town of Haarlem. This creature was described not just as alive, but sentient and possessing distinctly human features on its upper half. What followed is even more astounding. The mermaid was allegedly kept alive for several years in a makeshift pond. She was reportedly fed and even learned to perform rudimentary human tasks, such as spinning thread. Although she never learned to speak, she communicated through gesture and imitation. The reports emphasized that she was treated with great care and was dressed in clothes to hide her monstrous lower half, though she allegedly tried to escape back to the sea multiple times. Skeptics argue this must have been a severely disfigured or developmentally challenged human female. But the recurring emphasis in historical records on her inability to speak, her affinity for water, and her powerful tail movements makes this a crucial, spine-chilling anomaly. The Dutch kept their secret well, but the next person who saw something impossible was one of the most famous and well-documented men in history, Christopher Columbus. Columbus's Caribbean sightings. In 1493, Christopher Columbus, already a figure of immense global authority after his first voyage, was sailing through the waters of the Caribbean, meticulously documenting every discovery. His journal entry from January 9, 1493, is startling because of its pragmatic, almost disappointed tone. He reported seeing 3 mermaids leaping out of the sea near the coast of Hispaniola. But unlike the romantic folklore he had undoubtedly heard, Columbus was underwhelmed. He wrote that they were not so beautiful as they are painted. He then clarified that while they had distinct human faces, they were not the alluring sirens of legend. This seemingly negative review is actually critical evidence. Skeptics universally attribute this sighting to manatees, which are often mistaken for mermaids due to their paddle-like forelimbs and tendency to stand vertically in the water. However, Columbus's reaction, his disappointment, speaks volumes about the strength of the mermaid legends prevalent in Europe at the time. He expected to see the beautiful, seductive creatures of myth. Instead, he saw something real, something with humanoid features that he instinctively labeled a mermaid, yet found ugly and unappealing. This suggests he saw a creature that was perhaps a transitional form, not a full human, but a large, evolutionary cousin whose aquatic adaptations rendered it less appealing than the romanticized versions. Columbus was disappointed, but the sheer size of the creature found in the next location would leave any witness speechless and terrified. The Mermaid of Siges. We conclude our second part with a detailed, chilling account from the small Spanish town of Siges in the mid-19th century. This case stands out because the sighting was not fleeting, and it was documented by local officials, lending it an air of government authority. The sighting occurred during a period of high coastal activity. A creature was seen repeatedly in the dark, deep waters near the cliffs. Local officials and fishermen documented the sighting, noting the creature's profound size and speed. They reported a powerful tail movement, suggesting an adaptation to deep, cold water environments that required immense muscular power to propel its body. The most unnerving detail was the description of the upper body: pale, almost translucent skin, and long, dark, matted hair covering a distinctly human face. Witnesses swore the creature had large, unnervingly dark eyes, possibly evolved to absorb every particle of light in the depths of the Mediterranean. Unlike the surface-dwelling legends, this creature appeared powerful, silent, and immensely adapted for the hunt. The Spanish authorities, unable to dismiss the collective testimony, ultimately classified the event as a large, unknown marine mammal. But the witnesses swore they saw a creature capable of turning its head, observing them, and actively maintaining distance with calculated movements. The Spanish believe what they saw, but the next set of cases brings us close to documented biological anomaly and the possibility of DNA evidence. The Greenland submersible mermaid. This is a piece of modern footage that exploded across the internet, instantly dividing viewers, the so-called Greenland submersible anomaly. The clip, which originated from a program about a disputed real-life discovery, has been widely debated, with proponents claiming it's suppressed evidence and skeptics dismissing it as a masterful piece of found footage fiction. But the impact of the clip is undeniable. The footage is taken from what appears to be a deep-sea submersible's viewport, with an exterior camera recording a figure swimming in the abyssal darkness. As the camera zooms in, a pale, humanoid shape becomes visible, darting with impossible speed. The key moment, the part that sparked 1 million online comments, occurs when the creature quickly approaches the glass. A large, strangely articulated fin, unlike that of any known fish or mammal, strikes the viewport with a heavy thud, momentarily rocking the camera before the creature disappears back into the black. Is it a brilliantly designed prosthetic, or the first genuine glimpse of an aquatic hominid? We won't definitively say. But the chilling, visceral quality of that impact, combined with the official scientific silence surrounding the clip, perfectly sets the stage for our journey. A journey into the documented moments where the myth seems to breach the surface of reality. The Fiji mermaid hoax. Before we can accept the real sightings, we must first confront the most famous and most successful attempt to discredit them, the infamous Fiji mermaid hoax of the 19th century. The artifact presented by the legendary showman P.T. Barnum was exhibited to massive crowds as the definitive proof of mermaids. Barnum claimed the specimen, a grotesque, desiccated creature, had been caught near the Fiji Islands. However, the truth was far more disturbing. The mermaid was a crude but effective anatomical deception, the torso and head of an orangutan or monkey, carefully stitched onto the tail of a large salmon or fish. The intrigue here is not the hoax itself, but why the public so desperately wanted and so fervently believed in a biological impossibility. The success of the hoax suggests that the cultural memory of real sightings was so strong that the public was already predisposed to accept the existence of mermaids. This is the critical point where we must ask, was the Fiji mermaid hoax simply an opportunistic piece of showmanship, or was it a deliberate, cynical effort by those in power to discredit the real sightings that were constantly filtering in from maritime communities? By offering up a clearly ridiculous, fabricated example, the establishment ensured that any future, authentic reports would be instantly associated with Barnum's fraud. The hoax tried to confuse the issue, but what happens when an entire, isolated culture shares the exact same, consistent story for centuries, far from European influence? The Tsimshian tribe sighting. We move from the cynical streets of 19th century New York to the deep, traditional knowledge of the Tsimshian First Nations living along the rugged coast of the Pacific Northwest in Canada. The Tsimshian people maintain strong, detailed legends regarding the quack whale, a term used for aquatic humanoids. Their stories are not general fables, they are specific accounts of creatures that possess the intelligence and upper body of a human, but are clearly marine organisms. The creatures are often described as capable of speech, highly territorial, and possessing sophisticated social structures beneath the waves. The compelling force of this evidence lies in its complete isolation from European myth. The Tsimshian culture evolved over thousands of years on a completely different continent, utterly untouched by the Greek sirens or the Danish sea monk. The fact that an isolated indigenous tribe shares such a specific, consistent non-European myth of an aquatic hominid is highly compelling evidence for a shared, primal encounter with something biologically real. This suggests that the mermaids are not a product of Western imagination, but a global, biological reality witnessed by ancient civilizations worldwide. The tribes maintain their truth, but the next case brings us back to the present day with undeniable video evidence that went viral, only to be ignored. Philippines fishermen's nets. The South China Sea and the vast, deep archipelagic waters of the Philippines are a modern hotbed for cryptid sightings. The sheer density of modern sightings in this area is an anomaly that cannot be dismissed by chance. Fishermen operating in the deep water trenches around the Philippines have, in recent years, captured various brief, blurry clips of creatures seemingly caught in their trawling nets. These are not sightings of creatures swimming free. These are moments of chaotic capture. The clips show pale, extremely fast-moving organisms exhibiting impossible agility, quickly tearing or slipping free of the heavy nylon nets before escaping into the deep. The creatures, described as relatively small but immensely powerful, exhibit an unnerving combination of human-like dexterity and Piscean strength. The sheer density of modern sightings, all recorded independently by different crews, suggests the region is home to a specific, deep-dwelling population of aquatic humanoids. TF, the official response again, is mass dismissal, claiming the footage shows rare species of deep sea rays or highly distressed seals. Yet the consistency of the reports, the intelligence, the avoidance of light, and the impossible agility exhibited points to a population of life that has evolved in the dark and is now being accidentally disturbed by modern fishing practices. The creatures in the nets were small and fast. But the next finding suggests a creature so large, its movement can confuse an entire community. The mermaid of Manatee Bay, Florida, modern. We turn to the warm, shallow waters of the Florida Keys, specifically the area surrounding Manatee Bay. While often scientifically dismissed as simple manatees, the sheer consistency of the reports demands closer examination. Manatees, large, slow-moving marine mammals, are the most common explanation for modern mermaid sightings in the U.S. However, consistent reports from the Florida Keys describe creatures with distinct, humanoid faces that actively interact with boats, sometimes peering curiously over the side before disappearing rapidly. The most compelling detail is the witnesses' sworn testimony that they saw hands, not fins. Rudimentary, webbed hands capable of complex, grasping movements. Witnesses, often wealthy tourists or local conservationists who know the difference between a manatee and a human, repeatedly describe these encounters. They swear they saw a creature with a distinct forehead, a nose, and eyes that held intelligence. The creature's immense size, capable of being mistaken for a manatee from a distance, is combined with a rapid, almost impossible departure that no manatee could execute. We have sifted through centuries of folklore, eyewitness accounts, and modern classification attempts. From the grotesque sea monk to the agile figures in the Black Sea, the evidence points to an undeniable truth. Something exists in the ocean that we refuse to categorize. And these final two cases are the smoking gun, the ultimate pieces of classified knowledge that prove the myth is real. The DNA evidence, NOAA/scientific reports. Our penultimate piece of evidence comes from the very heart of the scientific establishment in the United States, the NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. In the wake of the 2012 global media frenzy surrounding the mermaid phenomenon, NOAA was forced to issue a public statement that is chillingly revealing. While the official communication firmly denied the existence of mermaids, stating no evidence of aquatic humanoids has ever been found, the internal and surrounding reports tell a completely different story. Marine biologists in these classified discussions spent an extensive amount of time discussing the possibility of undiscovered intelligent life in the abyss. The what-if scenarios posed by these scientists about parallel human evolution, about a primate species that returned to the sea millions of years ago, adapting massive eyes for the dark and powerful tails for pressure, are not the ramblings of fringe theorists. They are sophisticated evolutionary hypotheticals discussed by the world's leading experts. The fact that a government agency was forced to publicly deny the myth while privately acknowledging the scientific plausibility of a deep-sea aquatic human lineage is a profound contradiction. They stopped short of confirming, but the public denial served its purpose. It closed the door on the public debate while quietly funding research into the genetic possibility. The government discussed the possibility, but the final sighting is the moment they stopped discussing and started covering up. The Angola creature. This is the ultimate payoff. This is the truth the scientific community desperately tries to keep locked away. This is the reason we are still debating the myth today. In the mid-2000s, a specialized international research vessel operating under a classified mandate to survey deep-sea mineral deposits was charting an exceptionally deep trench off the coast of Angola, West Africa. This trench plummets thousands of feet below the known photic zone, existing in complete, crushing darkness. The vessel's remotely operated vehicle, ROV, descended to record-breaking depths. What its high-definition cameras captured was not a fish, not a seal, and not a hoax. The footage, briefly leaked and instantly suppressed, showed a creature of unnerving and immediate familiarity. The creature's anatomy was a perfect, horrifying marriage of human and marine biology. It possessed a streamlined, powerfully muscled lower body, ending in a massive, bioluminescent tail fin for propulsion. But its upper half was distinctly humanoid. Long, slender arms with highly webbed, rudimentary hands, and a thoracic cavity suggesting a complex lung structure. The head was the most unnerving part. Large, unnervingly black eyes adapted to capture every particle of light, and a smooth, hairless cranium. It was a primate that had spent millions of years evolving under immense pressure. The creature was observed for several minutes before it reacted to the ROV's light, moving with impossible speed to obscure the camera. The sheer biological detail, the clear, intelligent reaction, and the unique combination of human features with specialized fins defied every known evolutionary record. The consequence was immediate and total. Within 48 hours, the research vessel was met offshore by an international military task force. The vessel's entire crew was quarantined. All data, including the geological and biological findings, were immediately confiscated, classified, and wiped from the official record. The entire finding was buried under layers of national security to prevent what the classification reports termed mass biological disruption and societal panic. If you believe the secrets of the sea are more terrifying than the secrets of space, make sure you join our journey. Subscribe now and click the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive.